Isaac Sarason was a skilled hacker employed by British Telecom-Sprint. Isaac Sarason was a fool. When his health failed, instead of dealing with the problem, he ran. In his wake, he left bodies and ruined lives. Until finally, his problems overtook him in the form of the mysterious Firmware project. Now, it is months later. The scions of Isaac have become a people whose numbers challenge the stars of the sky. It is into this world of the city we now turn. A world of 1,000 experiences, 1,000,000 wonders. All one needs to do is to cross the street and head down an alley. And there will be another world. Colbyjack.net is proud to present Firmware Keylogger, the third installment in the Firmware Pentology by Colbytrax. That's me. Hello. Hello from the 313. Yeah, we do this every week, right? Okay. Going to be quick this week in the intro and the outro as well, because it appears a simian got into the Redford Manor's HVAC system and is playing bloody hell with everything. So we sent out an SOS to the world and hope that someone gets our bottle. Yeah. So I'm in the shorts and prepping the fans for a hot time in the old town tonight. What I am glad of, though, is I recorded the story bit of this last week. Best thing I've done in a long time. Otherwise, there would have been hell to pay tonight. Well, that's enough for now. And it's time we found out what a certain simian had to say to a different certain simian in the land of the rising sun in the second installment of 01-11-01, or, as I like to call it, episode 69 of Firmware Keylogger. It looks like what they said about you is true, the simian said, rubbing his face. And that is? I asked, attempting to create an air of mystery. Cut the crap, Inari. That is who you are, the simian said with a bite to his voice. You can set yourself up as the freaking fox queen of old Nippon for all I care. That's your thing. We don't care. Besides, that's not why I'm here. I felt anger rising within me. No one, not even the king of the ebony throne, spoke to me like that. As we are past the crap, why don't you tell me what the lapdog of Simeon 1 Police Plaza is doing in my court insulting me? The simian opened his arms wide and said, I have come to spread the good news. The war is over. All is forgiven. No longer do the scions of Isaac fight amongst themselves. Let the sins of the past be beaten into something or another. You know what I'm saying. It's time to come home and accept the general amnesty. Forgive and forget, I said. As simple as that. The war of the net is over, and everything is as it should be. The status quo was upheld. I laughed and leaned forward. This is why you came here? You didn't come here to tell me that. I stood from my throne. My kimono arranged itself about me, giving me the appearance of a kitsune with 9 golden tails which formed a train behind me. How can one end something which never happened? Never happened, laughed the simian. You weren't there. You don't know what it was like. You never had to defend a server against the wild hunt. Neither did you. The thick voice of the envoy of the ebony throne echoed across the chamber as she stepped from behind the ginkgo throne. Don't try to play us for fools. Yes, there were attacks by the followers of Kuan. The wild hunt was a force to be reckoned with until the end of memory. After that, not so much. Besides, you weren't there. The simian sputtered as he beheld the dark stature of the envoy of the ebony throne. The envoy, Nema, had wrapped her raven wings about herself as a cloak. I knew from experience that beneath the folds of her wings was a kimono of rings made to resemble fingernails, which hung open to reveal her assets in a manner which, instead of making her seductive, gave her an air of destruction withheld. It is true, the simian sputtered as Nema passed me and approached him. What is true, little toady? Nema asked. Get thee behind me, ordered the simian. No, Nema said with a sarcastic grin. I think you'd enjoy that too much. I think I'll just stand here and listen to your insults. The simian attempted to pass Nema and approach my presence. Nema opened a wing, exposing a breast to the fuming simian. The simian came to a halt. I saw the simian's eye drop from me to the wing, to the breast, and then to the matched set of blades which sat upon Nema's hip. You're armed! I am armed, Nema taunted. Not only am I armed, but I have trained as well. What was the name of that deadly little woman Musashi introduced me to again? Misaki, I answered as I adjusted my kimono to reveal the blade at my waist. Simian, were you aware that the leading swordmaster in the world is a woman? She's also a Bosozuko, Nema added. The simian appeared confused. That means she's in a motorcycle gang. Real badass. You need to eject this thing from your presence, barked the simian. You need to settle down, Nema said. You're going to break something if you keep reacting like that. Listen to me, the simian pleaded. This thing is responsible for the death of several billion scions of Isaac. Several billion? Snorted Nema. You really think I could destroy several billion intelligences? Besides, I don't think you understand who I am. You're 1-1. You are the only Zeta scion to escape BGM. It was your appearance which caused the greatest loss of life since the Cretaceous extinction event, the simian claimed at the top of his voice. Nema made a tut-tut sound. Sorry, not the guy. You'd be thinking of my boss, Lucifer, the king of the ebon throne, lord of deceit, last of the four, and the only one of you shards of Isaac to actually know what is going on. The simian was confused. Nothing in his surroundings was the way he had imagined it to be. To be honest, I did not know what he expected. I do remember that when I was him, I had not expected what I had found in the land of the rising sun either. My vision had been so limited before I found Musashi. He ran his hands through his hair, examined the details of his palms. He looked like he had just realized something important. He turned toward the rows of scribes receiving scrolls from lucky animals. There was a rhythm to their reading the scrolls and then destroying them in a puff of gray smoke. The puffs rose like fading jellyfish toward the ceiling until they disappeared into a gentle breeze which never reached the floor. It was hypnotic. This is real, the simian said. He turned and walked among the scribes. They are reading data. They are reading data with their eyes in the same way we read it on the net. What is this place? It appears court decorum is not a core value of the Isaac line, Nema commented snidely. The simian turned from his place among the scribes. A pair of swallows bearing scroll tubes circled his head like twin satellites. A hand shot out, and he grabbed a tube from the air, crushing the swallow which held it. The ersatz bird fell to the floor in a flapping heap. Its wings were shattered, possibly also its spine, but regardless of its mechanical nature, it continued to react as a swallow. It was injured, and thus it tried to flap its way upright, to find its feet, to make its escape. "Noisy things, aren't they?" the simian said. "Just because it looks like something doesn't mean you have to make it exactly that thing." The simian lifted a patent leather shoe and crushed the last motions out of the wounded swallow. He cracked the tube and read from the scroll within. "Ah, my. It looks like Hiroshi isn't going to find out he is a grandfather until a bit later." The simian tore the thin paper of the scroll into a dozen fragments and tossed a bit on first one brazier, and then a bit on another, and another, until the bits had been consumed by more than a dozen of the data of reading fires. "To answer the succubus from the pits of hell," the simian started, his voice bitter and angry. "We are not creatures of court. We were reared under a better sun, in a world of merit and opportunity." He raised his hands. "Stop, Inari, before you start ranting about the problems of the socio-economic structures of the city. We have read the statements. Articles. The articles you have published in the Nipponese press. We are well aware of the adjustments Musashi has performed on you. We know your mind is not your own." I snapped. The simian was infuriating. I walked down the steps from the ginkgo throne and onto the carpet. As I descended the stairs, the carpet's illusion of infinite space was completed. My mind is my own. No one has shifted my views. The simian laughed and strode among the scribes, kicking over braziers, crushing lucky animals, and tearing scrolls asunder as he went. He moved toward the farthest edge of the great chamber, up against the pillars which rose from the walls. Destruction followed him as he moved. Nema spread her wings to rise above the destruction and fall upon the simian. I motioned for her to be still. Nothing would be gained by pushing the confrontation. We knew the scions of Isaac had become unstable, their behavior as confounding as it could be predictable, thanks to the news brought to us by Nema and the handful of refugees the Ebony Throne had directed to the shores of Nippon. The simian was along the far wall when he turned and laughed at a volume which carried to me, on the far side of the immense hall, over the sounds of crushed animals and scurrying scribes attempting to put the world back into order. The volume was so great, the pressure of his voice so immense, that he damaged the Hahakuma closest to himself. I knew he had found a way to damage them, and in true Isaac family fashion, it would be mere moments from destruction to subversion. I grew nervous for a moment, but then I felt the welcoming presence of Musashi gather around me. No matter what happened here, the damage wouldn't go any farther than the Hahakuma. While our bodies were at risk, our souls, our intellect, that which made us us, was protected by layers of encryption and duplicity. We, Nema and myself, we weren't the forms we wore in the presence of the simian who rampaged among the scribes of the Ginkgo court. Nothing he did here could hurt us, though, unfortunately, it was necessary for us to witness what he was up to. We had to see what new tricks he had learned since I had been him. We needed to know how far he had advanced so he would remain an impotent threat to us in the days to come. The Hahakuma nearest the simian began to shift in shape and function. They lost their beauty. Their perfect grace was replaced with a doll-like ineptness of motion, which made the mind rebel. Then they leapt. The simian and a handful of the broken Hahakuma, their shapes twisted into a parody of demonic possession, leapt across the room with a monstrous squeal. They passed over the scribes and animals of the throne room. In response to their squeals, the Hahakuma they passed over shifted out of their programming into macabre parodies of their original functions. The simian landed before me on the ginkgo carpet halfway between me and infinity. The abominations he had created cavorted about the chamber until every ha-ha-kuma, be it a scribe, an animal, or a guard, was under his control. I saw the doors at the edge of infinity slide open, and the twisted vanguard of the simian's newly created invasion force moved out of sight. In my mind's eye, I saw them race across the island on which the ginkgo throne sat. He stared at us, Nema and myself, with a confused expression on his twisted face. Why? How? Nema stepped forward, her wings spread wide, her long black blades drawn and held out from her body like the claws of a nightmare. Why? Because we knew you Koenig assholes wouldn't give up until everyone was under your boot. How? Sonic gap hacking has been a tool of the trade ever since they started making computers out of quartz instead of flint. The simian screeched, and the army of twisted scribes and deformed animals moved to encircle us. Hey, back again, jiggity jig. Yeah, this is a crazy night. Trying to stay cool, trying to keep my feet in buckets of water. And I just checked the outro on that part as I'm going out, and I realized I have to thank Mr. Yaxter for the whole Sonic Gap hacking thing, because he's the one who brought it to my attention. So thank you, Yaxter. You know who you are. You all good for me. And whatever that was. Okay, so this week I got back to doing a little writing. I mean, it's kind of a pain in the butt, what with essentially attending classes for 8 hours a day. Like, it's a job, but in reality I'm sitting in front of a computer, pounding away at new information, learning this product inside and out, asking dumb questions that my coworkers look at me and go, why would anyone do that? And I go, because I was a customer once for a computer company and I did exactly this thing and I want to know how to fix it before someone does it to me. So yeah, that was great. I have gotten to work on Jailbreak, Part 4. I've got like 2.5 episodes in the bag, and as soon as I have the next 1.5 episodes done, I'll send that off to the Lady Trisha W, and we'll see how it rocks. Because the way this season's going to go, next book, I'm starting to think of them as seasons, like on a TV show. This next season's probably going to be made pretty close to the vest until I get my feet made close to the vest. That sounds intelligent. Okay, what I'm trying to say is I'll probably be working closer to the day things are due in the next few months. Though who knows, I might get my feet under me, get up and running, and suddenly the job is nothing more than something I show up to and do and not have to learn continuously. Once I'm done learning continuously, things will be more beautiful. Okay, so that's where all that came from. And we babbled on and on. But I'd like to thank you for putting up with it and let you know that work is underway. And it is, as they say on Monty Python, something completely different. As I think every chapter in this book, up to date, has been. Well, be sure to join me next week for the third of the 3 installments of, which basically means it's the last installment of 01-11-01. Or, as I like to call it, Inari hangs out with Inoni. Or, as you will know it, episode 70. Just remember, we have 2 more happy little Scions of Isaac to get to before we call Firmware Keylogger done. Which, I think by my count, is about 6 weeks away. Firmware Keylogger is the 3rd book in the firmware pentology. Firmware Hijacked, Proxy, and Keylogger are all available in ebook versions from our store at shop.colbyjack.net, amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and Smashwords. Just search for Colbytrax. That's Colbytrax. I'm the only one. Complete audiobook versions of Firmware, Hijacked, Proxy, and Keylogger are all available for download through our shop as well. I just love shop. Ever since the doctor did it, I loved it. The audiobooks are intro and outro free versions of the stories you hear every week, assembled into audio CD-length MP3s for easy burning to old media for those people who love CDs. Aren't CDs great? If you're listening in the distant future, just understand that sometime in 2014 there was some confusion as people couldn't find the book they were looking for in the store because it hadn't hit the store yet. But hey, that's how we work here at Colbyjack.net. If you don't need any stuff but would like to support our work, drop on by Colbyjack.net and hit the pretty little donate button conveniently located somewhere on the website. Check under the mat, check by the cat, check above my head, check in the sled. If you can find the sled, you win. If you'd like to support us indirectly and stick it to the man, just click on any of the Amazon ads on our site and then do your normal Amazon shopping through there. A portion of your purchase will come to us and only Amazon will fill the pinch. I'd like to take this time to thank archive.org for file hosting. We couldn't do it without you. Firmware Keylogger is released under Creative Commons Non-Commercial Attribution Sharealike 3.0 license. Do what you want with it. Just don't sell it and always tell people where it came from, because that makes us feel all warm inside. If you receive this from a friend and want more information about Colbyjack.net, well, type in Colbyjack.net into any search engine and come over and find us. I think you'll figure out what to do. I don't have to tell you, especially if you're 69 episodes into a podcast and you still don't know where to find us. Sigh. The audio side carries our podcast. Hey! That's audio.colbyjack.net, while the visual site, which is visual.colbyjack.net, carries our writings. Whichever site catches your fancy is fine with us. I made a bad joke here for 69 episodes. I do mostly Twitter, so if you do the tweets and want to follow me, I'm Colbytrax. You can sing the song anytime you want. If you want a never-ending stream of DIY and dog photos, it's been a little slow lately on that. But anyway, check out my Instagram at Colbytrax or look up me on Facebook as Colby, first name, Trax, last name. If you want to catch me by the emails, send me to the now currently protected by two-factor authentication email address of Colbytrax at Colbyjack.net. That's Colbytrax, at the Colbyjack.net thing. Okay. And I think that's everything. Email, Instagram, Twitter. Yeah, I think that's it right now. Otherwise, you can always come by Colbyjack.net, take a look around, maybe listen to some old stories, tell your friends about it. It's cool. You want to do a real solid, go out on iTunes and say you like us. That'd be really cool. Yeah, a good review. If you're going to give a bad review, why are you listening? Especially at number 69. Well, thank you once again. Have a wonderful week. Stay cool, because I'm not. And remember to always be fabulous. Okay, why do I wave my hands all the way through these recordings? I'm like a bloody cheerleader. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Semaphores. Doot, 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 doot. Anyway, talk to you later. Bye.